Be me. 24. Not ugly, not hot, just aggressively average in a way that makes people say, you seem nice. Work a normal job, pay rent, own 2 decent shirts, and have the emotional range of a guy who learned feelings from YouTube thumbnails. Keep hearing that dating is easy for men if you're not a creep. So I decide to do the reasonable thing and become the least creepy man alive. Not because I'm trying to game anyone, but because I'm tired of guessing what's allowed and what's a red flag. Spend 1 winter getting my entire personality formatted by advice content. Watch clips, read threads, bookmark posts, save little screenshots of rules like they're laws of physics. Get the same message over and over. Don't pressure, don't chase, don't objectify, don't love bomb, don't trauma dump, don't lead too much, don't be passive, don't be needy, don't be boring, don't be intense. Feel like I'm studying for an exam where the answer key changes every time you turn the page. Tell myself it's fine because the core principle is simple: respect and consent and emotional intelligence. Respect is easy, I think, because I'm not a monster. Consent is easy, I think, because no is a complete sentence and I can read basic signals. Emotional intelligence is easy, I think, because I once named an emotion correctly and didn't die. So I decide to stop winging it and just follow the instructions literally. Not in a sarcastic way, but in a let's remove all ambiguity way. Turn dating into a clean system where nobody gets uncomfortable and nothing gets misread. Make a note on my phone called rules. Rule 1, never double text unless she asks a question and I missed it. Rule 2, no compliments on appearance early because it's objectifying. Rule 3, no sexual escalation unless she initiates first. Rule 4, no chasing, meaning if she goes cold, I stop, because persistence is pressure. Rule 5, let her lead, because women are tired of men steering everything. Rule 6, don't make it weird, meaning don't bring up the rules. Feel proud, like I just installed antivirus software on my personality. Tell my friend Max about it while we're grabbing food. Max squints at me like I told him I'm microdosing tax forms. He says, bro, just talk to women like they're people. I say, that's literally what I'm doing, but with safety rails. Max says, safety rails are fine until you build a cage. Ignore him because he's the type of guy who says vibes as a strategy. Decide to start with apps because that's the normal battlefield now. Make a profile that is as non-threatening as possible. Use photos where I'm smiling but not trying too hard, because trying too hard is a red flag. Write a bio that is honest and boring and therefore safe. Say I like coffee, parks, and movies, because liking coffee is not politically controversial. Refuse to write anything arrogant, because arrogance is toxic masculinity. Refuse to write anything desperate, because desperation is emotional labor. Refuse to write anything funny that could be misinterpreted, because humor is how men hide harm. End up with a bio that reads like a company mission statement. Download 2 apps because 1 app feels like I'm not serious. And being unserious is a red flag. Start swiping and tell myself I'm open-minded. Match with someone named Lily within the first day and feel a surge of hope. Like, my body forgot pain exists. She messages first with, hey, Sidazen, and my brain goes into protocol mode. Rule 5 says let her lead, so I respond, but don't overtake. I reply, hey, how's your week going? She says, good you. I ask about her profile, because advice says, ask about her interests. I say, you mentioned hiking, got a favorite trail? She replies, Epilogue. Not rude, not kind, just empty. Like throwing a ball at a wall that doesn't feel like being a wall today. Resist the urge to entertain, because performing is chasing, ask one more question, because I'm being respectful and I don't want to ghost. She doesn't answer. Rule 4 says if she goes cold, I stop. So I stop. Feel weirdly calm, like I did something right, even though nothing happened. Match with someone named Ava next, and she has better energy. We talk about music for a bit, and she seems engaged. She says she's into live shows and asks what I listen to. I list a few bands and stop myself from trying to impress her, because that's insecurity. She sends haha nice. Then she goes silent. Rule 4 again. So I stop again. Start to notice a pattern where conversations don't end with conflict. They just dissolve like they were never real. Tell myself that's fine because no one owes anyone attention. Say it like a mantra until it stops sounding like a mantra and starts sounding like a sentence I hide behind. After a week, I get a match with someone named Jenna who actually types full words. She says, your profile seems sweet. What are you looking for? Feel the urge to be honest, but not intense. Advice says, don't dump your entire heart on a stranger. So I keep it simple. I say, something real, but no rush. I like getting to know people. She says, same. We talk for 2 days, and it's the closest thing to a normal conversation I've had in months. She asks where I'm from, and I tell her. She asks what I do, and I tell her. She says, cute, you seem stable. And my brain highlights that word like it's a rare drop in a video game. Then she says, want to grab a drink this week? My chest gets warm and stupid. Rule 3 says, no sexual escalation unless she initiates. But this is just a drink, so it's safe. Rule 1 says, don't be too eager, but I also can't play games, because games are toxic. So I respond in the most neutral way possible. I say, yeah, I'd be down. What day works for you? She replies, Thursday. I suggest a place. She says, sure. Thursday comes, and I show up 5 minutes early, because being late is disrespectful. Sit at a table and feel like I'm waiting for my life to start. Text her once at the time we agreed, just to confirm, because confirming is considerate. She replies, running a bit late. I say, no worries. 30 minutes pass. I look at my phone like it might apologize. She says, sorry, something came up, rain check. Rule 4 says, if she goes cold, I stop. And this feels cold, but I don't want to punish her for being human. I reply, all good, hope everything's okay. She says, thanks. Then nothing. Wait a day. Rule 1 says no double text, so I don't. Wait 2 days. Still don't. Wait a week and realize I'm not waiting for her. I'm just holding space for a person who already left. Delete the chat, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Because advice says, self-respect is sexy. Feel nothing sexy about it. It just feels like throwing away a movie ticket to a film that never played. Start to wonder if I'm doing something wrong, or if this is just the normal experience and men don't talk about it, because that would be complaining. Rule somewhere says men should be emotionally open, but another rule says men shouldn't whine. My brain holds both, like they're compatible and I'm the one failing at the math. Go on a date with someone else eventually. A woman named Priya, who agrees to coffee quickly. Meet her, and she's pretty and composed and looks like she has opinions about my posture. We sit and talk, and I focus on being respectful. Ask her questions. Listen, nod, don't interrupt, because interrupting is mansplaining. Make sure my body language is open, but not invasive. Keep my hands visible, like I'm in airport security. She tells a story about her job, and I laugh at the right times. She asks about mine, and I keep it short, because talking too much is ego. There's a silence, and my instinct is to fill it with humor. But humor can be coping, and coping can be manipulation, and manipulation is bad. So I let the silence exist. Priya looks at me and says, you're quiet. I say, I'm listening. She says, okay. Another silence. My brain screams, do something, but I don't want to perform, because performing is desperate. We finish coffee and I say, this was nice, thank you. She smiles politely and says, yeah, thanks. We leave, and I don't make a move because Rule 3 says, don't escalate, and also it's daytime, and I don't want to be that guy. Text her later that evening. One message, calm and respectful. I say, had a good time today. Would be down to see you again if you're interested. She replies the next day with, you're really sweet, but I didn't feel a spark. That sentence hits like a pillow that still knocks you out. I respect it and reply, totally fair, take care. She says, you too. No drama, no screenshots, no story where I'm the villain, just another closed door with a smile on it. Max asks how it went, and I tell him. He says, bro, you didn't flirt. I say, I was being respectful. He says, respectful isn't flirting. I say, flirting is risky. He says, dating is risky. Go home and open my note called Rules. Stare at it like it's a holy text that forgot to include the part where you're allowed to be wanted. Add a new rule at the bottom without thinking. Rule 7. Don't expect anything, because expectation is entitlement. Feel myself becoming very good at not expecting anything. It's like a muscle, and I'm training it every day. Keep swiping, keep matching, keep doing everything right, and keep watching conversations die in slow motion. Start to notice that my inbox isn't a battlefield. It's a museum of almosts. Every chat looks like a tiny attempt that never got to become a person. Begin to understand why some guys stop trying without making a speech about it. Not because they hate women, but because the effort turns into silence, and silence starts to feel personal. Decide to push the experiment further, because I'm stubborn and I want data. Tell myself I'll do 1 month of perfect compliance, no improvising, no vibes, just rules. Mark a date on my calendar, like I'm doing a detox. Feel weirdly proud again, because this is my coping mechanism. Make pain into a project. Week 2 of the experiment starts with me feeling strangely calm, like I've already accepted the outcome, but still need to see the numbers. Open the apps every morning. The same way people check weather. They already know is bad. Swipe carefully, not too much, because swiping too much looks desperate in the algorithm, according to a guy who sells courses. Match with someone named Claire who has a bio about boundaries and self-work and therapy. Feel relieved because this is my target audience, the people who supposedly want exactly what I'm offering. She messages first with hi, and I respond politely and evenly. We exchange a few messages about work and weekends and favorite places in the city. I keep everything neutral and grounded, like I'm writing an email to HR, but with emojis. She asks what I'm looking for, and I reuse my safe answer because consistency is integrity. She says she appreciates honesty and emotional maturity. Feel like I just passed a checkpoint. Conversation drifts into silence after a few hours. I don't rescue it, because rescuing is chasing. She never comes back? Tell myself that's okay, because I respected her autonomy. Notice how often I'm congratulating myself for being invisible. Match with someone else. Name doesn't matter anymore because they're all starting to blur together. This one replies fast and seems enthusiastic at first. She sends voice notes, which feels intimate, but I remind myself not to project. She laughs at something I say, and I feel the urge to lean into it, but leaning in can be pressure. So I stay where I am. She asks why I'm single. Pause, because every honest answer sounds like trauma dumping. Say something light about timing and focusing on myself. She says, that's healthy. Conversation slows down after that. Like health is reassuring, but not attractive. By the third day, she stops replying entirely. I archive the chat without anger. Like a librarian closing a book no one finished. Start to realize I'm collecting examples, but none of them feel like stories worth telling. There's no conflict, no explosion, just a lot of polite endings that don't even feel like endings. Talk to a female friend about it over lunch, because advice says, get women's perspectives. She listens and nods and says, maybe you're too nice. I ask what that means, and she says, like, you're not giving anything. I ask what I should give. She says, I don't know, energy. Ask her how to show energy without being pushy. She shrugs and says, you just feel it. Write feel it in my notes like it's actionable feedback. That night, I decide to try something small that still fits the rules. Send a message first to a new match, but keep it respectful and observant. I say, your profile made me smile. Immediately wonder if that's a compliment on appearance by proxy. She replies, thanks. Nothing else. Resist the urge to follow up with a question, because double texting is pressure. She never says anything again. Delete the note after a week, because staring at thanks feels worse than rejection. At some point, I stop feeling disappointed and start feeling detached, which is somehow heavier. Notice I'm no longer excited when I get a match, just alert, like a notification for an unpaid bill. Go on another date, this time dinner, because she suggests it, and that means I'm allowed. She talks a lot, and I listen a lot, and I make sure not to interrupt or redirect. She asks why I'm so quiet again, and I say, I like listening. She says she wants someone who can take charge sometimes. I nod and ask what that looks like for her. She says, I don't know, just confidence. Confidence feels like the one thing I'm not allowed to demonstrate directly. We finish dinner and split the bill because equality is respectful. She hugs me goodbye, and it feels like hugging a coworker after a successful meeting. She texts later, saying she didn't feel chemistry. I reply kindly and mean it. Realize I've become very good at accepting rejection gracefully. So good that I don't even feel like a participant anymore. Start seeing posts online about men not trying, men being emotionally unavailable, men being lazy. Read them with a strange sense of recognition. I'm trying constantly. I just stopped being visible. Scroll through my own messages and see nothing that could be screenshotted and shamed. No creepy lines, no entitlement, no anger, no pressure, just a long trail of politeness leading nowhere. Begin to understand how someone can do everything right and still feel like they're failing morally. Max asks me why I look tired, and I tell him I'm fine. He asks if I've tried being a little more bold. I tell him boldness gets men labeled. He tells me invisibility does too, just quieter. That sticks with me longer than I want it to. Week 3 starts, and I'm still following the rules, but now it feels like habit instead of effort. Realize I haven't flirted in weeks, and I'm not sure I remember how. Catch myself editing messages down until they say almost nothing. Notice how often I choose silence, because silence can't be misinterpreted. Tell myself that's maturity, even though it feels like fear with better branding. By the end of the month, I have exactly 0 bad stories and 0 good ones. Just a clean record and a heavy feeling I can't explain. Look at the calendar and see the date I marked for the end of the experiment. Feel relieved and disappointed at the same time. Realize that at no point did anyone tell me I did something wrong. They just stopped choosing me. And there's no appeal process for that. When the month ends, nothing dramatic happens, which somehow feels like the most dramatic outcome possible. I don't delete the apps right away because quitting would feel like admitting failure, and I'm not sure what I failed at. Instead, I stop opening them as often, the way you stop checking a fridge when you already know there's nothing inside. Notice how quiet my phone is now, and realize it's been quiet the whole time. I just wasn't listening. Go back and reread the advice that started all of this, looking for the footnotes that might explain the missing pieces. See the same phrases repeated everywhere. Be respectful, be safe, be emotionally available, don't pressure, don't chase. None of them mention what to do when respect turns into absence. None of them explain how to show desire without being accused of entitlement. None of them talk about what happens when you remove every sharp edge and end up with nothing to hold on to. Meet up with Max again and tell him I'm thinking of taking a break from dating. He says, that's probably healthy. And I don't know if that's encouragement or a warning. Ask him how he dates now. He says he stopped overthinking it and just accepts that sometimes people will misunderstand him. That sounds terrifying. Tell him I don't want to hurt anyone or make anyone uncomfortable. He says, you're allowed to be wanted too. I laugh because it sounds like a motivational poster, but it also makes my throat tighten. Later that night, I get a message from someone I matched with weeks ago, but never met. She says, hey, sorry I disappeared, life got hectic. Old me would have jumped at the chance to restart. Rule 4 says, if she goes cold, I stop. But the experiment is technically over now, and I don't know which version of me is replying. I type a response and delete it. Type another and delete it too. Realize I'm paralyzed by the idea of doing the wrong thing, even when the rules are gone. Eventually, I reply politely and ask how she's doing. She responds once, then fades again. Feel a strange relief when it happens. Like at least the pattern stayed consistent. Understand then that the experiment didn't just change how I date, it changed how I see myself. I used to think rejection meant someone saw me and decided no. Now rejection feels like no one ever really saw me at all. Start thinking about all the men I've read about online who gave up and wondered how they could just stop caring. Realize they probably didn't stop caring. They just stopped offering themselves up for evaluation. Go to a small gathering a few weeks later and talk to a woman there without any apps involved. Conversation flows better in person, but I'm still careful, still edited. She laughs at something I say, and I feel that old instinct to lean in, catch myself, and don't. She eventually drifts toward someone else who is louder and more certain. I don't feel angry at him, just tired of competing in a game where the rules are invisible. On the walk home, I realize I haven't felt excitement in a long time, just management. Everything has become about risk mitigation instead of connection. Open my phone when I get home and scroll past posts about dating discourse without engaging. See people arguing about standards and entitlement and gender dynamics. Notice how none of them talk about quiet men who tried and disappeared. Think about how easy it would be now to become emotionally unavailable and call it self-care. How simple it would be to say I'm focusing on myself and mean I'm done offering. Recognize that this is exactly how people describe men who stop trying, and it doesn't feel like a choice so much as gravity. Delete the note called rules without ceremony. Not because the rules were wrong, but because they replaced instinct with fear. Decide I'm done with experiments. Not because I learned everything, but because I learned enough to know the cost. Stop dating entirely for a while. Not dramatically, not with an announcement, just quietly. Months pass and no one notices, which confirms something I didn't want confirmed. People don't miss effort, they never felt. Occasionally someone asks why I'm single, and I give a vague answer about timing. It's easier than explaining that I followed the instructions and still ended up alone. Realize there's no language for this experience that doesn't sound defensive, so I keep it to myself. At some point, I notice I'm calmer, but also flatter, like a surface that reflects nothing. I've become exactly what people complain about, just without the anger. Emotionally unavailable, but very polite about it. Sometimes I wonder if I could try again, do it differently, risk being misunderstood. But then I remember how invisible I felt doing everything right, and I'm not sure which version of pain is worse. Sit with that uncertainty instead of resolving it, because real life doesn't resolve cleanly. Accept that there is no lesson I can tweet, no moral I can teach, Just an experience that changed the way I move through the world. And that's how it ends. Not with bitterness, not with blame. Just a quiet understanding that doing everything right doesn't guarantee being chosen. End part 3. Brace part 4, Epilogue. A few weeks after I stopped dating, someone at work asks if I'm seeing anyone. I say no, and they nod like that explains everything they already assumed. No follow-up questions, no curiosity, just a neat little box I fit into now. Notice how easy it is to disappear once you stop advertising yourself. Realize that most people don't reject you actively. They just move around you. I still read advice sometimes out of habit. See the same lines recycled with new fonts and new faces delivering them. Be respectful. Be confident. Be vulnerable, but not too vulnerable. Lead, but don't dominate. Listen, but don't be boring. Every sentence assumes there's room for error. None of them explain what to do when the safest option is to say nothing. I don't feel angry at women. I don't feel angry at advice givers either. Mostly I feel aware of how easy it is to mislabel silence as laziness. Aware of how many men probably followed the rules quietly and faded out without comment. Aware that effort doesn't always look like effort from the outside. Sometimes I think about messaging someone again, just to prove I still can. I don't, not out of spite, but because I don't want to turn connection into a performance again. If I ever try again, it won't be as an experiment. It'll be messy, imperfect, and risky, or it won't happen at all. And for now, that's where it stays. Why no one? No villain. No victory. No lesson handed down. Just a guy who followed the advice, literally, and learned what it costs.